Hello, my friends, and thanks so much for joining us at the Galaxy YouTube channel. Back for more. We are, look at this view. We are 34 stories up at Semicon, looking at this gorgeous view in San Francisco. And I'm delighted to be joined by Dr. Ken Butler, who's the Senior Director of Business Development for Advantest. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks, Dan. It's a great opportunity to be here. Appreciate it.
Thanks. So business development, what part of the semiconductor business do you develop?
Well, so I'm part of Advantest Cloud Solutions, which is a new business that's started up inside of Advantest. And so we're working with people on a platform to provide analytics solutions and the analytics that run on top of that in order for them to be able to optimize their test operations and be able to, make a better job of utilizing advanced analytics to apply to the problems in their everyday operations.
Wow. Okay, so before it was a cloud-based solution, were you doing business development for them in a different group? Or is this, how old is this cloud-based strategy you've had?
Advantest had what they called the grand design that they started up in 2018. And they said, Advantest as a company decided that they needed to move away from just kind of a narrow window of just servicing wafer probe and final test, and they need to expand their horizons on either side, getting closer to design, getting closer to the back-end operations like system level test and burn-in, and then an analytics solution that runs on top of all of that. And that started before I joined the company. I joined the company relatively recently, just a couple of years ago, when they started up this new ACS business. They started up in early 2020. I started later, early 21, and so it's a relatively new foray into this business for Advantest.
And so how long has Advantest been absolutely trying to focus on this part of the cloud-based thing?
Well, since essentially 2020 when they started up ACS.
Okay.
They've been doing that for the last few years. There are a variety of products, some of which that pre-existed ACS, but there are others that have been since the advent of that activity that have come online. So just the last few years.
Are security concerns at all one of the biggest challenges that you have having going from what it was before to a cloud-based solution?
That's an excellent point, and it's absolutely central to everything that we do. A lot of our customers are very, very concerned about the fact that when they are in a disaggregated manufacturing environment where they're using contract manufacturing and they're using advanced analytics, and they want to be able to protect their data and the IP that they develop to do the analysis on that data so that it doesn't get exposed when they're in these contract manufacturing operations. So everything that we do in ACS has security as central to what we're trying to do.
So it is a big challenge for you.
It's a huge challenge.
Is it the biggest challenge for you?
I don't know that it's the biggest challenge. There's a lot of challenges kind of tied up in there. We have to enable people to be able to access their data in real time because they want to do decisions right then and there while I'm touching the part and I'm testing the part. I want to be able to make a decision about what happens to it next. And that's a really big challenge in terms of being able to move data quickly and make the analytics run very, very quickly. Security is definitely a big piece. There's a lot of other challenges that we've had to address, like portability of applications, being able to take an application that was written on a bench in a Windows environment and be able to port that directly onto the ATE, which we've got some capabilities to be able to do.
What OS are those using, Linux or?
Well, the example that I'm thinking of was a MATLAB application that was running on a Windows platform, and the V93000 tester that we are operating on is a C++ type environment or whatever, and normally you'd have to port that code over from one platform to the other, but in this case we containerize the application, so the container brings along all the dependencies or whatever, and you can drop it directly into the ATE and
that's
run
beautiful
it on our platform with having full portability. And if you're going to adaptively change that on the fly because you're kind of developing this application as you go, then you can just make changes, recontainerize it, and rerun it, in the same application.
Containerize. I've got a peanut gallery behind the cameras. You guys can't see this. I think we need to start containerizing because that sounds like a great idea. Tell me more.
The Galaxy Semi is a leader in this area because they're already containerizing their applications.
I know. It was a softball. So you're talking about getting the analytics on there while you're on the machine, pretty much in real time. So I'm curious, is it real time or is it like near real time?
Well, it's very near real time. You're never going to get zero latency, so you're going to collect some data at the tester. You're going to ship it over to our edge compute capability. You're going to run some very fast analytics as a high performance machine and then send the result back over a dedicated high performance link So there is a few milliseconds of latency, but it's as close to real time as you can get
Okay.
without being physically on the device. pretty much.
Now, are all the apps that are available and with your analytic solutions, are they all built by Advantest, or are they built from other third-party software developers?
Another great question. So, our vision is that we want to be able to have an infrastructure and a capability where everybody can play. So we have this concept of what's called an open solutions ecosystem, where there's the ACS solution store where you can go out there and you can see applications, some of which will come from Advantest, others will come from partners such as Galaxy maybe at some point in time, to provide their analytics to be able to run in our infrastructure and our environment. And so that way people have the flexibility to be able to choose whatever solution they want from whatever provider that they want, rather than being, as in the past, having to be tied to a particular vendor for everything that they're doing.
So it's almost like for layman's terms, it's like an app store, but you're on the Advantest
We
platform.
can't use that terminology.
I realize
somebody else uses that,
but
so we don't say that.
It's
But
similar to
it's
that,
a
right?
similar
But
concept.
enterprise level app store. That sounds
Similar
Is
concept.
anyone else doing this?
To my knowledge, no.
That's
not
pretty
in our
cool.
industry. Nobody's doing that.
And of course, this isn't something you could patent or anything like that, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
So we're at Semicon. Has there been anything that's sort of thrown you for a loop, or been really interesting, or made you turn in a different direction, or think differently, or?
Oh, I mean, I guess it's not really a big surprise, but AI and ML everywhere. I mean,
Yeah.
all of the folks that have been talking about that and smart manufacturing, I mean, it's just pervasive in everything that we're doing. That's
Yeah.
really exciting for us, because this is where we're trying to focus our energies and our time.
So is there anything in those AI or machine learning talks that you heard that you were going to be able to try to implement in Advantest to develop the business you're leading?
I don't know that I have a specific example for you, but I definitely saw some people that were doing some innovative things, and it kind of makes you scratch your head and say, well, maybe we could do that too, or maybe we could partner with somebody like that to be able to bring something like that into our environment so that other people can leverage it, as opposed to having, because we want to leverage the fact that we can kind of provide a platform that everybody can play.
And I had no idea you were going to answer that, but shameless plug. Our first 2 episodes on our YouTube channel, our CEO and founder, Wes Smith, went into the actual depths of what is machine learning, what is AI, what is deep learning, how do these interact or not, what's different about them. So if you want to learn more about that, sort of like a tutorial on machine learning AI, check out some of the other links in the Galaxy YouTube channel. Last question for you, Dr. Ken Butler. Tell me about what you got your doctorate in.
Oh boy, okay. So I did my PhD at the University of Texas at Austin. I had the great privilege to
Hook 'em horns.
Hook 'em horns. I had the great privilege to work for Professor Ray Mercer, and Ray was in his day we were trying to tackle the idea that we were going to make ATPG run faster, and these were the days prior to when really people had come up with all the right heuristics to be able to make it.
What year was this?
I finished in 1990.
Okay.
And so we developed me and a colleague or whatever developed an ATPG based on binary decision diagrams, which didn't really find a home in test at the end. They actually do show up a lot in circuit synthesis and those kinds of applications. And then my PhD topic was a little bit different. What we were looking at was what we call fortuitous detection, this idea that you generate a set of tests that detect one class of faults, but you get this lucky detection of other things. And how often does that happen? And what sort of defect parts per million improvement do you get by this fortuitous detection? So we were kind of off exploring that regime and kind of figuring out how to quantify what the impact was.
So like not really by accident, but kind of finding something you didn't expect. Like, oh, look, I turned on this rock. Look at this thing over here.
Exactly.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Ken, thank you so much for joining. Guys, if you like this interview, we've got plenty of other ones as well on our YouTube channel. If you like this, go ahead and put the thumbs up. Subscribe down below, and you can check out the playlist of all of our interviews at all the different sessions that are out there. Thanks so much, Ken. We'll see you next time.